Close your eyes. Your eyes can deceive you. We must not trust them. Tell me what comes into your mind.
Life. Balance. I see fire.
Oh, greetings, Bucketheads. Dave Artigar. Welcome to a Bantha bonus episode of Mando Vision. I am your host, Nargai Tom. Thank you so much for checking out our small independent Star Wars podcast. We are so glad that you are here, and by we, I mean me. Check us out on social media. We're at Mando_Vision on Twitter /X and Instagram. You can email me at mandovisiontom@gmail.com. Be sure to like, subscribe, follow, and share the show with all the Mandalorians in your covert. All right, well, today's the day well, no, you won't know yet. I talked about it on a podcast I recorded yesterday that you won't hear until later, that today was the day that we were going to get the Acolyte teaser trailer, if you will, and we would have this bonus episode of the show to kind of get into it. And I'll be honest, I'm doing this podcast later in the day than I thought I would because, well, I don't know if it must be a me thing, right? My temperament, my mentality, the way I view things is and I blame Comic-Con for this. I don't get too up for a lot of trailers anymore because I see. I've gone to enough of these events where they do this stuff, and it's all, promotion and marketing and building the hype, right? Well, on this podcast, as you probably know by now, if you've been listening to it for any length of time, you know this about me. Not much of a hype guy. I've really become kind of even-keeled about these things. It's like, I know what these trailers are designed to do. They're showing me what they want me to see to get me to go and spend the monies. And so, watching today's teaser trailer, not the full bore trailer, was good. I was, that looks like a Star Wars show that I could get into. But it didn't get my heart all a-fluttering or anything crazy like that. The blood pressure stayed pretty even. Didn't spike up, didn't break the charts. It wasn't like that scene in Equilibrium. You remember that movie. I know you remember that movie. Not like that at all. I was just very even watching the trailer. I liked it. I did. And we're going to talk a little bit more about it, kind of get into some of the stuff. I'm getting this episode out a little bit later. I'm sure you've already heard or seen a million different reaction episodes of YouTube shows and podcasts that have already gotten into it 5 seconds after it went online today. And that's cool. Good for those folks. But I don't know. I guess I just don't want to be part of that machine that bleeds into the hype. Like, I want to call it like it is. I want to try to provide some insight and some analysis in these things, and I want to think about things before I get out there and talk about them too much. But by and large, I enjoyed this trailer. I'm looking forward to it because I'm going to give you those specifics in just a minute. But you know what that means, my friends. It is time. Strap on your buckets. Let's go. Bantha Tracks bonus edition style.
This isn't about good or bad. This is about power and who is allowed to use it.
What is that?
Okay, so there it is. That's the ending of the trailer. And listen, I'm going to start at the ending here because the first question that popped in my mind as I'm watching that Acolyte font kind of come across the screen there was the O in Acolyte. And I could not help but wonder, speculate, ponder the possibilities that this show, like so many others out there, has something to do with a ring. Because that is very much what that O going into place looks like. Could it be a Halo? I suppose, but there is a Halo show already. I'm not quite sure what else it could be. Perhaps it's symbolic of something else that we don't know yet. But if there's some sort of ring of power kind of thing going on here, I will be somewhat less than enthused by that idea. There's a ton of material out there today. It's sort of like this blackout of talking about the Acolyte has been lifted. There's a ton of interviews out there with Leslie Headland, who's the executive producer and I believe one of the writers on the series as well. So there's a lot of interviews to kind of sift through. And I haven't come across one yet where that's sort of talked about at all. But again, it's the first thing that jumped out at me at the end of the trailer. I was like, wait, what? Is there some kind of ring here? Now, again, we played the clip. There is a line. There is a mention of power and who gets to control it. Rings, symbolically, power. There you go. But for Star Wars, I don't know, man. That feels like treading on somebody else's territory, in my opinion. But that's it. Going back to the beginning of the trailer, though, it's all very Star Warsy, and it's important to remember that we are at the end of what is the High Republic era, and we are going into the time period just before the prequels and kind of setting things up. And Leslie Headland's been talking about it for a long time now, that she wanted to explore the Sith in a different fashion than they've been explored before to this point, because again, you got to go back to the Phantom Menace, right? And Windu and Yoda and Ki-Adi-Mundi, all these characters in the Jedi Council believing that the Sith have been extinct for thousands of years. So we see a red lightsaber. Does that Sith kill everyone around them to make sure that is still the belief? There's a lot to kind of get in here to ponder about, to think about before we get to the series, because again, it will have to line up with the mythology at a certain point. But as has been the case before, we've seen it if you're reading the books in particular, books in the comics, it wouldn't be the first time that the Jedi have sort of fudged events to kind of keep some things from coming to light. And again, that pun's intended, my friends. That pun is intended. So again, I don't want to play too much speculation. There's enough of it out there already. I like this trailer very much. I like the visuals of the characters. If you go onto StarWars.com right now with the trailer release, they've updated a ton of information for the series. There's a lot of stuff you can get to and begin to get an idea of who's who and what's what, particularly for the show. Let's go ahead and give you the plot that's now listed on the website, all right? The Acolyte, release date June 4th, 2024. We're getting 2-episode premiere. There are 8 episodes in total for the series. And here's the plot. An investigation into a shocking crime spree pits a respected Jedi Master against a dangerous warrior from his past. As more clues emerge, they travel down a dark path where sinister forces reveal all is not what it seems. They've also updated the databank for characters in the series. The character that we saw attacking the Jedi, her name is May. She gets swept up in a sinister mystery. one that puts her in the center of a conflict in unexpected ways. The Jedi Master we see in the beginning is Sol. We also are introduced in the trailer to a character named Jeki, Yord. Kalnaka is the Wookiee with the shaved head. And Carrie-Anne Moss is playing a Jedi named Indara, who we see in that knife fight against May. And then Mother Anastasia is the one who drops that line about power. So those are some of the characters that we're introduced to thus far through the trailer. And, we don't know a lot of the roles. One of the things I think a lot of us fans of the High Republic books were looking forward to was seeing the live-action introduction of Vernestra Rwoh. And Vern, you see her in the trailer, but not prominently. And I was a little bummed out about that. Vernestra Rwoh is a character that I like quite a bit from the High Republic books. And I think I speak for most of the fandom when I say that we like Vernestra Rwoh. We can't wait to see what this character is all about, particularly because this series is significantly removed from the events of those High Republic books that are taking place now, when Vernestra Rwoh is only 15 years old when they start out. And now she's a much more aged and wise Jedi Master, apparently very highly respected in the Order at this point. So it'll be interesting to see how different Vernestra is, I suppose, is what I'll say to keep it at that. Another element that I liked about the trailer, again, the combat looks cool so far. I liked May coming after a Jedi with knives. You don't see that very often. And again, I like the idea that someone's out there killing Jedi in a time when that's not a thing, right? That one of the things that is very, very, I guess it's not like super explicit in the High Republic novels, but it's a high point for the Jedi. It's a high point for the Republic. The Jedi wear a lot of white because they don't get their hands dirty at in this particular era. There's not a lot of people coming after them. The conflict that arises in the books is different, and it begins to change them a little bit. And I think that's reflected in some of the attire you start to see in the Acolyte, where they start to wear those darker colors, because they are a little bit dirtier now. Things have happened. Things have occurred that have begun to change the Order. And I think that's really what I want to see out of this show. And I think Leslie Headland has sort of promised an exploration of this, but the idea of institutions. And it's something that we talk about on our Star Wars The Bad Batch and Star Wars The Clone Wars in particular. When we've rewatched those episodes of The Clone Wars, I have zero problem pointing out the inconsistencies, the hypocrisy, and the just blatant mistakes that have led the Jedi Order to the position that they end up in Revenge of the Sith. And I would love to see that explored more fully, because that's the thing about the Clone Wars, right? It's like you see them making bad decisions and you see them going down this path, but it's never really, no one ever really stops and says, hey, wait a second, guys, maybe we need to think about this a little bit more fully, a little bit more rationally. Like, let's explore what it means to be generals in a war where we're supposed to be protectors of peace and things like that. And again, this goes into a lot of my issues also with the sequel trilogy, right? Like, if you want to have a Luke Skywalker who has failed in his mission to bring back the Jedi and to do all these things, I suppose that's your prerogative. You can do that. What really bothered me was that Luke tried to bring back the Jedi in almost the same fashion in which they left. And one of the jokes, and I forget if I've made it over on this podcast. You think over the course of 245 episodes, you probably have heard most of my shtick by now. But I have often joked many, many times with friends, and that Star Wars is the only fictional universe that apparently doesn't have historians in it, because you would think Luke would have access to some material, some data, some information about maybe where the Jedi went wrong and sort of how their downfall came to be, and specifically about Anakin Skywalker. Now, again, you can make the a presumption that maybe that information was purged, that maybe Palpatine got rid of all this stuff and made it so that it wasn't out there. And that's okay, cool. Confirm that for me, though. Put that out there. Luke's like, I didn't know where to go, so I just started with what Yoda taught me. Okay, I guess I can go with that. But again, he has those ancient texts. And again, Luke should kind of be a little bit more free-thinking since he wasn't bound by the structures of the temple and the Jedi Order in the first place. He is sort of the Jedi 2.0, right? Based off what we know, we'll go with 2.0. So again, I don't want to go down the wormhole on Luke, but let's get into that institution and why it's bound and destined to ultimately fail. When do those cracks first start showing up? Is this where we begin to see those forming? I want to explore that more. I want to explore the idea that the Jedi aren't the only Force users out there. That seems to be something that is mentioned explicitly in this trailer. Are the Jedi controlling who has access to the Force and who doesn't? Is there some other entities out there that are trying to do the same? I want to get into this more. Obviously at this point we only know Jedi, Sith, and Night Sisters, but in the old expanded universe there were many other cultures and beings out there that they weren't just Force sensitive. They used the Force, right? So how much of that will we explore in this series? And again, I like the idea of sort of deconstructing the Jedi Order and sort of being able to analyze them from the outside, but it'd be nice if we had a show where someone on the inside is looking at things and wondering why it is they do things the way they do. And that, to me, that's the biggest potential that the series has, is to kind of begin an examination of the Jedi Order. Now, again, if you're new to the podcast and you don't know much about me, I am not here to say that the Jedi are bad people. I like the Jedi as a concept, but what we've seen from them in the course of the Skywalker saga is that they are a failing, faulty institution, and they got what was coming to them because they made a lot of mistakes. When that Shroud of the Dark Side wrapped around them, bad decisions were made, and I shouldn't say no one, but very few Jedi stopped to ask the questions why. And I want to get into that. I want to get into the sense of the Jedi just always being right, this sort of self-belief that they have that they can do no wrong, that they are always making the right choice because they are in harmony with the Force. They are in balance with the Force. But they're only in balance with the Force. I mean, again, you have to know what's going on the other side of the Force to have balance with it, right? So, again, these are the things I want to talk about. I don't want to get too much into the philosophies because I want this show to explore them. That's what I'm really looking forward to. And honestly, I'm looking forward to a mystery. I want to go on this path. I want to see Jedi picking up clues and trying to advance the plot of the story while deepening their understanding of what's going on around them and who's coming after them and who is attacking them. And again, if it forces them to confront their own reflections in the mirror, all the better. So that's what I'm really most excited about. There's not a ton in the trailer to really sort of dissect. The characters look cool. There's cool lightsaber stuff at the end. There is interesting visuals. You have a Wookiee with a shaved head. I mean, there's a lot going on here, but it looks very Star Wars, and it looks very cinematic too, which I also really, really appreciate because we got a very cinematic approach with Andor. And as much as I love The Mandalorian and Kenobi and the other series, is they did feel a little TV, and I've said that before, so that's not new. Andor felt movies. This looks like it might be kind of going for the same thing. Maybe not like the high gravitas drama that Andor was, but Leslie Headland's on the record saying she wants to be somewhere in the middle between The Mandalorian and Andor. And right now it's checking those boxes, and I visually it looks impressive. I like the action a lot. I can't tell for sure, but the acting looks like it's pretty spot on. And one of the most important things I gleaned from some of the interviews I read with Headland today is that she's talking about a writer's room, which is something we've talked about in the past for The Mandalorian and Book of Boba Fett and those shows. It was like, it might be better if they had more voices in a room to bounce ideas off of each other instead of it just being Favreau and Filoni and just kind of going down their own path. That's something I've thought should be workshopped on those shows, Ahsoka as well. But the writer's room, that's what Andor had. And Andor had an impressive writing room. I don't know who the writers are on Headland's team, but from all accounts, Headland is a professional TV writer. So I would suspect it to be a quality writer's room as well coming out of that production. And she's on the record saying she wants to do multiple seasons. So it'd be really fun if this show is of the quality that we want so that we get more seasons of it. And that would make us all very, very happy. So again, I don't have I feel like I talked about everything but the trailer because, again, it's just a teaser. There's only little snippets of things here and there, but it looks cool. I'm excited for it. I'm here for it. I'm ready to go. Let's have some more Star Wars action because I'm kind of chomping at the bit here to get some more Star Wars in my life. I need it. I want it. And if this show starts to ask and answer questions that I've long wondered about, even better. I'm going to be so happy if we get to sort of get into the nuances of what it is to be a Jedi and what the Jedi Order is versus what it was versus what it is, what its goals were to what they are now, where it started to where it's at. And I think that exploration will obviously continue if James Mangold's Dawn of the Jedi movie gets off the ground, to sort of see like the high idealism that starts the Order to where it is, many thousands of years later, possibly longer, who knows? But yeah, again, I'm excited. June 4th will be here soon, and we'll get to watch this show, 2 episodes. I hope to God there's no Ring of Power sort of element in this, but I guess we'll see what happens on that front. And let me know. I've reached out to a few friends, and they all think it looks, pretty okay. Maybe when we get a full-blown trailer in another couple of months, we'll have a little bit more to dissect, a little bit more to go on of the mysteries involved in the show. But I'm excited about the idea of Jedi and these rogue agents who are killing Jedi and whatever May's deal is. Probably my guess is former Padawan of that Jedi Master we see at the beginning. But we'll find out these things. There's a lot you can kind of parse out. I suspect there's also a lot of flashback in that teaser as we saw as well. But we will find out. We will learn these things soon. And in that full-blown trailer, more Vern, please. More Vernestra Rowe. That'll make us all very, very happy. So, yeah, guess what? It's a Star Wars show. We're going to watch it. We're excited for it. But, a tempered enthusiasm for it. Give me that full-blown trailer and really let me wet my whistle with it, and we'll see what happens there. But otherwise, hey, Star Wars The Acolyte looks promising. A lot of potential here. Like what I've seen so far. Thumbs up on that one. Let's get after it. And, hey, we'll be talking about it very soon. And again, we have a long build up to June here where they can put out more materials. There'll be more interviews, more behind the scenes things, at least one more trailer, full blown trailer. And again, there's a ton of material out there right now on interviews with Leslie Headland. And again, head over to StarWars.com. They're updating the data bank constantly, so you can find a lot of information on the website as well. So yeah, good stuff. A good day for Star Wars fans out there. And if you're a fan of this podcast, get ready because we got a lot of episodes coming out this week. So buckle up, my friends. Keep your buckets on all week long. It's Mando Vision week, apparently, because I got shows and shows and shows for everybody to check out. All right, so I think we're going to wrap it up. I really appreciate you guys taking the time. I know this was just a little bonus episode, but again, you took the time to download, stream it. You promoted it on your socials, and I truly, truly appreciate that. Make sure you hit us up on the socials. We are at Mando_Vision on Twitter /X and Instagram. Email the show, mandovisiontom@gmail.com. Make sure to like, subscribe, follow, and share the show with all the Mandalorians in your covert. Give us those sweet, sweet, sweet 5-star reviews if your platform allows it. And remember, this is Mandovision, and I am your host, Nargai Tom. You are the best listeners out there. Buckethead Nation continues to be amazing and supportive, and I can't thank you enough for that. Let's all go out there. Let's go out there and be great Star Wars fans. We now have new material to show, to recruit more people to the cause, get them excited about something new and exciting, a new interpretation of Star Wars. And in case I didn't highlight it enough, I'm really excited that we're going to get to explore a new time period in live action. That makes me so insanely happy as a fan of the expanded universe. I've been spending time in other time periods of Star Wars forever and ever and ever. But ever since Disney bought it, I'm stuck in one. So thank you for having a show that pushes us out a little bit, shows us something new and exciting, and I'm here for that. So yeah, that's good news. So I almost forgot to talk about that. That's exciting on its own, isn't it? Anyways, use that as an incentive. Maybe you're talking to people who are like, I'm sick of all this Skywalker crap. And now they can be like, hey, guess what? There ain't a Skywalker in 1,000 parsecs of the show. You're gonna be just fine. So there you go. There's your new selling point, my friends. All right. Let's go ahead and get out of here. I'm going to be back so soon. You're going to be sick of me by the end of this week, friends. Keep your buckets on, Buckethead Nation. And remember, this podcast can only end one way. This is the way.
This is the way.
This is the way.
This is the way. You expect me to search the galaxy for the home of this creature and deliver it to a race of enemy sorcerers?
This is the way.